Hello, and welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with Tally. This is episode 66, and I'm your host, Brian Tally. The mission and the goal of this podcast is to bring an engaging conversation that will add value to the lives of everyday people. We will inspire, encourage, educate, and tell the stories of America's finest men and women in an effort to motivate you to live your life to its fullest potential. Be sure to follow us on social media and on Spotify. The online information and handles are all located on the scrolling ticker at the bottom portion of your screen. Be sure to like and share the program as well. You can also support the program by going to Anchor FM or Spotify and clicking the support button. Folks, my favorite time of the year is upon us. We've got the Marine Corps birthday, we've got Veterans Day, the changing of the leaves, the cool fall weather, and families and friends huddled around the campfire. And as an added bonus, we've even got the World Series. I mean, come on. What better way to enjoy these moments than with a glass of the smoothest bourbon around? Semper Fi Brands is a Texas veteran-owned business that produces Big Stick Bourbon, a world-class bourbon that supports and honors our military. The symbols on the label represent every branch of the armed forces. Big Stick Bourbon has a unique taste, and they even put a charred oak stick in every bottle. Their patented design enhances the flavor and smoothness. The proof is 95, which is symbolic of the 5% profits that are donated to military charities. Get your bottle today and visit BigStickSpirits.com online to find the nearest retailer near you. BigStickSpirits.com, where the size of the stick matters and the whiskey is smooth. BigStickSpirits.com. Folks, we have a very special guest joining us on today's program. Marc Vital spent 8 years in the United States Marine Corps as an LAV mechanic and deployed to Iraq in 2004 and 2005. Once he got out, he had trouble finding his place in the world, had trouble maintaining jobs, and to top it off, he had a huge problem with alcohol. Marc has worked in a wide variety of fields to include diesel mechanics, building custom fences. He was a chef, excavating, and dabbled in the masonry field. He even climbed the ladder of success and had a great job as a welder on nuclear ships and submarines as a DoD employee. One day, his buddy called him up and was talking to him about a nonprofit concept he was working on, and he was finally convinced to fly to Houston, Texas, from Washington State to come sail for a weekend. He thought sailing was for rich old people. That weekend, he learned about sailing and was back working in a team with his fellow veterans, and he enjoyed the hell out of it. He only sailed 2 days, but on that second day, he realized he wasn't feeling that anxiety, the depression, or any sort of anger anymore. That is when he realized this is where he needed to be. When he got back home to Washington State, he got to work on making plans to get out. He left his 6-figure income, sold his house and everything he owned, packed up a 16-foot U-Haul, and drove 2,500 miles down to Kemah, Texas, to figure out how he was going to stay connected and be able to help other veterans as he helped himself through his own struggles with anxiety, depression, and anger, all caused by the wounds of war. Marc now lives a life that is focused on helping as many veterans as he possibly can, as well as creating an amazing and bright future for himself. Currently, he is working on buying his first multi-family housing unit, and he's even writing a cookbook. He is now the director of veteran outreach for Skeleton Crew Adventures, and he will be participating in the Ocean Globe Race. They are the only team flying the American flag and the only all-veteran crew. Marc and his team will also be making a documentary to help lobby change in the military and veteran community. What a warrior and what a man. With that, we are honored to be joined by Marc Vital. How are you, sir?
Hey, brother, I'm doing great. Thank you. That was an amazing introduction. Thank you.
Hey, look, the goal of this is to tell your story, to tell the stories of America's finest men and women. And all of your stories deserve to be told in a way that makes sense and that is meaningful. And I would be giving you a disservice if I did not give you an intro like that, because You deserve it.
Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, I do apologize. Our show sponsor was Big Stick Bourbon. And of course, you have a problem with alcohol. So I don't mean to open any of those wounds.
All good, brother. It's been 5 years, 8 months, 10 days. So
good.
Got it. I mean, Taylor, the guy who helped found the sailing nonprofit, has a tequila company. So the irony is I'm actually in the commercial for him.
Love it. Love it. Love it. And again, a huge shout out to Big Stick Bourbon, today's show sponsor. And again, they are big sponsors of the military and veteran community. And as always, we need to enjoy these alcohol drinks and beverages with responsibility. And they are about that as well. Responsibility, folks. Just like anything else in life, right? So listen, Mark, you have got a tremendous story. I mean, you could be the world's most interesting man. I mean, you've got a beard. It looks like you've been coloring on your wall behind you.
Yep.
I mean, you're a Marine veteran. I mean, what is that?
That's how you beautify a condo. I
Love
ate
it.
one, so I only had like the brown and white ones left, so I had to make it.
Love it. There's a Marine. He's like, I'm going to color my wall.
Hell yeah. Cases I did in the bathroom.
Oh, man, what a motivator. What a motivator. And of course, you got your K-bar, and it's like, man, you're ready to just slash. And
Yep.
Awesome, man. So you came to Texas from Washington State. Now, tell us about what it was like growing up in Washington, and what type of childhood did you have?
So growing up in Washington, everybody thinks like Seattle, big city, all that craziness. I was actually out in the woods. Closest little gas station was like 5 miles away. So I grew up playing in the woods, running through the creek, playing laser tag. I mean, just all the random stuff. Parents were divorced when I was 2. So I grew up, 2 different households. Normal story. Dad was kind of a dickhead. My mom was great. No real issues besides, trying to deal with all of that. Random stuff. My dad and I didn't talk for 20 years. That was kind of rough, not growing up with a dad from like 13 to 33. And then he died a month later. So that was interesting. But mainly growing up in the woods is just, it gave me that other mentality. Just go play out there. So that's how it led into watching the videos from the recruiter of the Marine Corps. And I'm like, oh, hey, I used to do this in the woods. I want to go do that. Kind of was like that. Kind of wasn't. So, yeah, I mean, simple, down and dirty. It wasn't a horrible, traumatic childhood. I did grow up without a dad for a few years. Still turned out all right from what I think.
I cannot believe it. See, look, I'm new in this podcast game. 85 days, 66 episodes. I have a lot of veterans on the show, a lot of Marines as well. And there's one thing that literally, and I can't make this shit up. It is the majority of all of us did not have a father in our life. I was taken away from my dad at 3, my brother at 1. Again, I think I've seen my dad 8 times in 45 years, and I don't know if he's a bad man. I don't know. I never really knew him, and it's kind of weird to have that relationship now. All these years later, it's something hard. I can't even really explain it, but there's something that we all went through as kids that put us on this track to becoming a Marine.
Yes.
Or to joining the military. And maybe not knowing that we were looking for that mentor. We were looking for that support structure. We were looking for that father figure to teach us how to be a man and to learn how to, again, stand up and fight and, and all that stuff that, a father figure would be in some, in their son's life. Again, we didn't have that. So we had to teach ourselves. And so that's why so many Marines are so successful, because they've been teaching themselves how to live since they were 2 years old, 3 years old. They had to teach themselves how to be a man. They had to teach themselves how to build stuff. They didn't have that support structure. They didn't have that manly mentor that boys need in their life. Boys need men, right? Because that's how you grow up. So again, I just think that is so unique and just so random. Like literally every program I do, it always starts off like that. I didn't have a dad. I didn't have a dad. I didn't have a dad. And that right there says a lot about who's joining the military and why. So,
agreed.
You come to Kemah, Texas. You have lived a life that many couldn't live in 10 lifetimes. I mean, from being a chef to working, as a DoD contractor. Explain the whole process of what brought you to Texas.
Oh man! All right, so as you said, spent 8 years in the Marine Corps, deployed 04 to 05. As soon as I got home, I knew I was having issues. I didn't know what the hell was going on because still early on in the whole wars, I didn't know exactly what PTSD was, what things were going to happen, what to expect, any of that. So I'd be going out in town. I'd try to go to the bank. I'd have this freaking, looking back on it, it was a major anxiety attack. Like I'd start shaking, I'd freak out, I'd run out, go home, and I actually had a futon at home, and I dove under and hid under my futon for about a half hour one day. And I'm like, all right, this ain't right. But yet when I went on base and I was around everybody else in my unit, I was like, we're good. So I started to try to figure this out. I started counseling to maybe hopefully understand a little bit. Got out in 06. I continued it because I'm like, I don't know what it is still. I'm kind of getting a grasp of it, but this ain't good. Also, the fact that I was drinking half a fifth to a fifth a night, that was how, obviously I was running from problems. I didn't want to deal with it. I wasn't able or ready to deal with it. It was still fresh. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm going to get drunk and we're going to call it good. So then I got out of the Marine Corps, moved to Phoenix. Since I was a mechanic, I went and got a civilian job, ended up getting Master AC certified as a mobile diesel mechanic. So I'd worked on anything with moving parts and wheels, basically. I was working night shift, ended up getting married, went to day shift, left her a month later. So we'd got together at the wrong time anyway. Another bad decision. A month home from Iraq, you don't try to get in a relationship. Not if you don't know what's going on with you. So then I'd got hooked up with the Arizona Leatherneck. So I found a group of Marines in Arizona. It's all right, cool. We're going to go hang out, ride motorcycles, but it kind of encouraged the drinking. So living in the motorcycle world life, it definitely was like, hey, let's go hit a bar. Hell yeah, let's do this. Did that for a few years, still being an alcoholic, screwing up jobs, relationships. It evolved into, I'd left being a mechanic. I went to community college just for a year, just to kind of play around. Didn't know what I was doing, so I was just trying to get my feet under me, I guess. Used a GI Bill, had that, had a little bit of disability money in, but that gave me more time to go drink and play on the bike. So that was kind of my thought process. I don't know what I'm doing, don't care, but I'm gonna go get drunk, hop on the bike. That was, with everything going on with losing brothers and sisters or combat and everything else, I was at the point where I still thought it was a cool joke that I was alive. I'm like, there's no way I should be here and my brothers shouldn't. They had stuff to come home to. They had lives, they had families, they had plans. One of my guys was going back to school on a baseball scholarship. He didn't come home. There was all sorts of random little stuff that was going on. And I masked it by drinking. That's how I dealt with it. Got a DUI, didn't care, still did the rest of it. Ended up October 30th, 2012. This one stuck out in my head because, one, it just came up again. But one of my buddies I was talking with, we were stationed together. I'd worked for him. He had just got kicked out, or he wasn't being allowed to re-enlist from the Marine Corps. So he basically got kicked out for getting a DUI. He had 4 years left of retirement, right? So me and him were talking. And I could tell he was having issues. And I was like, hey, fuck it. Let's go get a job in Florida. Let's go do this. So we were planning to go get a job together. And we pretty much had it set in stone. 2 days later at 6 a.m., he sent out a text to a few people. And the only reason I remember this, because it's still burned in my head. This is one of the things. It said it's morning here, but it's always darkness for me. I brought upon myself a hell I cannot handle. And I don't remember the exact words anymore. But he's like, I love you all, Black 9 out. And then he shot himself in the head. So that's one of those things that really just gets you. You know, that I thought that me and him were good. I thought we had a plan. And that caused me, fall deeper in there. And I got shit-faced more. And it's random stuff like that, whether talk to them or you ain't talked to them in a month or two, and then you find out they killed themselves. So that kind of started me on the path of like, all right, I got to be able to do something. There's some reason I'm still here. Yes, I think it's a cruel joke because of what I have to deal with, but there's got to be something I can do. No clue at this time. This is, 2012. I was going through, started culinary school. So I was like, hey, I love to cook. Maybe this is where I got to be. So 2 years in culinary school, got my associates of applied science, went up to the Grand Canyon. So the lodge on the north rim of the Grand Canyon was the first real job I had after school. And I ended up being the sous chef up there. That was also the day before I graduated culinary school. My dad passed away. My sister didn't want to tell me. She's like, you're celebrating. So I don't want to tell you. Up in the mood. But it was like we had just finally reconnected a month earlier at her wedding. And it was great. I finally was able to talk to my dad again. And we had a real deep heart-to-heart talk. And he always warned me. He was like, be careful with the alcohol. It'll mess up your life. And then, a month later, he passes away. So that kind of sent me down a little spiral again. And then I moved back up to Washington State, cooked a little more, ended up meeting a bunch of people. One guy owned an excavating company. So I got out of cooking because there's no money in it. I went and did excavating for 6 months. I did masonry for 6 months because there was more money in that. All the while I've been working to get into the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard just to get in there as an employee. Got in there as a welder, shop 26. It was phenomenal. I loved welding. I loved working on the ships. I was back, doing something good for the military, surrounded by brothers and sisters. And then, still, this whole time, the drinking in the background. I was making decisions. I was not in any right frame of mind to handle life, pretty much. So I felt like I was getting better, but I was still getting drunk. I'm like, I'm not going this week. I'm not drinking this week. I know I'm drinking too much. I'm not going to drink. I'd hit Wednesday. I'm like, man, I didn't drink Monday, Tuesday, and it's Wednesday. Fuck yeah, I got this. I'm going to have a drink. And that's how it was. So I get drunk. There goes all my money. I went down to Phoenix in 2015 for the holidays. Went back down there to visit some people. Went golfing with a buddy. There was another guy we also worked with. There's like 3 of us that were always buddy at the restaurant. And Chris and I were talking, hey, we should have called this guy and da-da-da-da-da. Well, the next day, Chris calls me. He says, hey, he just shot himself. Fuck. There goes the holidays. All right. Back down to the bottle. 2 months later is when I got my second DUI. I just quit caring. I had big old Chrysler 300C with the Hemi and all that. And I was leaving a bar in the backwoods of Washington. The weekend prior, I'd hit like 135 leaving there. I was like, cool, I'm going to hit 150 this weekend. I was always going to go out suicide by motorcycle or something to that effect. I leave the bar. It's at the bottom of this mile-long hill. I'm like, cool, let's do this. Get up there, mash it, get to the top of the hill. I'm probably doing close to 95, 100 miles an hour, 45-mile-an-hour zone where there's a top. As soon as I got to the top and I saw him, I let it off. I was like, shit, here we go. I'm going to get a speeding ticket. Yep. He pulls me over, gives me a sobriety test, arrests me for DUI. Pulls me and books me, and then takes me and drops me off at the gas station at 2 a.m. I'm like, how the fuck am I getting home? So I called up a buddy, stayed with him. And that's when I think that was the kick in the pants that I needed. Hey, dumbass, pull your head out. You're not going to live doing it. So I was like, all right, I'm done. I know I've been drinking too much. If I continue, I'm dead. I know I was going to die. So that was February 25th, 2017. And that was the first day I'd quit drinking. I was like, all right, time. So I worked hard to keep that federal job. I'd worked 2 years for this, but I could never see a future there. I just couldn't picture it in my mind. And I was like, I know this is where I should be. Great money, federal job benefits, all that fun stuff. Told them about it, went through this whole process, ended up getting fired anyway. And I was like, all right, what am I going to do? I don't know what I'm doing. I went back to cooking, a sous chef with a catering company. I was like, all right, maybe this is, what we're going to do. We'll expand it. I'm like, I don't know. Still lost. And by this time, it's now 2017. So mid 17 through 18, I was working there. That ended up not working out. And then I was going to do something else. But with the DUI, I was actually allowed to do a deferred prosecution. So that includes 2 years alcohol counseling, 2 years probation, and 2 years sober support. So AA, had to go to counseling 3 times a week. And then it was intense. It was expensive. It drained all my money. It took everything I had. But that was the single greatest thing in my life for me. That got me out of the old mindset. Now I'm understanding why I'm drinking so much. And it's really clear. My head starts to clear up. I can start thinking clearly. And to this day, I still say I am happy I got that DUI. As much as it screwed up, it put me in a better spot. So yeah, that's the greatest thing. And then I got the job with the paint and scaffold company. As we're growing, we were building scaffolding. Then he wanted to go painting. So I went through all these classes, got all these other certs to help, inspect and go for the project manager route, help him get a lot more jobs. So 2020, so I started there in 2018. So I get random scatterbrained. That's me. So,
you're doing great.
2018 to 2020, that's when 2020 was when I had my best year ever. And I've always avoided telling people this because I don't want to be like, hey, look at me. I did this, that, and the other because, but I made $143,000 total income in 2020. So that's like a stupid amount of money for a single guy with no kids. I had a house, had an apartment, had the truck, car, bike, had everything. But I was always working too much, not taking care of myself. So I was still having the issues in the background, not drinking, still sober to this day. And then, I've been talking to my buddy I was stationed with, and he's like, hey, I'm working on this concept. Cool. Here's my 2 cents for you. So I tried to help him out as much as I can. He finally convinced me to fly down there February of 21. I was like, all right, fine. I'll finally come sailing. I'm not Thurston Howell III. I'm not rich. I'm not some dude who's going to go retire on a freaking yacht. Not me. No, I mean, seriously, that was my perspective. I was like, bro, sailboat, come on, give me a Harley. Let's go ride. So he finally gets down there. Another buddy I was stationed with, and I got to meet Taylor. So we all jump on the boat. We go from Kima to Galveston, stay the night, hang out. And I was like, wow, this is actually way different than I thought. And the next day coming back, I was laying in the cockpit on one of the benches. And I remember just clear as day. I was like, holy fuck. I'm not angry. I'm not anxious. I'm not depressed. I'm like, my body felt relaxed. There's no tension in it. And for once I had that happiness feeling and their feeling of, oh, maybe there is something else to life. And then it also hit me. I'm like, this feels like home. This feels like where I need to be. So with a lot of skepticism, when I told him, I was like, you know what y'all started and what you're trying to build, this is where I need to be. So I'm going to go ahead and just sell everything and move down here. Why not? Right. They were both like, okay, I'll kind of believe it when I see it. So 3 months later, when I pulled up with the first load, I was like, hi, I got the car and the trailer. I'm going to drop this off, fly home, grab the truck and bring some more stuff. they were like, holy shit, this dude's he's actually serious. I'm like, yeah. So coming down here, that to me was probably the biggest leap of faith I've had. I didn't know. I went from making all this money, having all this stuff, to where it's like, you know, I bought me a small 700 square foot condo, and I'd condensed everything down to the minimalist life because I originally wanted to live on a boat. That was a huge, huge learning curve, trying to figure out how to buy a boat and live on it, what not to sell the insurance. So needless to say, I'm living in a condo. Hadn't figured that one out yet. So that kind of brings me to present day. And it's like the past few months, I've really been working on myself. And it's like, you know what? If I can do this, maybe if I can share my story and one person benefits, cool. I had one of my brothers call me up last year. And he was like, hey, I've been drinking too much. I'm quitting drinking. He goes, if you can do it, I know I got this. Because I used to be one of the biggest alcoholics you ever met. And that to me, I was like, now let me rephrase. This guy who called me, he's one of the guys I look up to. He was spec ops in the Navy. He's done all this shit. He's got a great family, amazing kids, wife. Like, he's who I wanted to be. Like, this dude's got his shit together. All right, cool. He drinks. I couldn't even keep my shit together. So for him to call me and say that dude, I actually cried. I broke down crying in my car because I know I'd actually had a profound effect on somebody's life. And that is what drives me. You know, now so that brings me, back to the past couple of months of putting everything online. I'm like, I'm an open book. I have done all this stuff. I have screwed up everything in life. If somebody can look at my situation and be like, damn, he's worse off than I did. He messed up more than I did. Or I can relate, damn, maybe if he can do it, I can. And it gives them that glimmer of hope. Hell yeah. All about it. So, and that's why I don't care anymore. I'm an open book.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, you know, Mark, look, you are the definition of perseverance and resilience. You have seen a lot of trauma in your life. And you know, again, you said you had to take a leap of faith, and sometimes living by that leap of faith is the only way to live. Sometimes you can't plan the greatest things in life. Sometimes it's that spontaneous reaction. Now, you've had the DUIs, you've had the jobs, you were a functional alcoholic, if you will. Now, the reason behind all of this is what people don't understand, guys. It's the sacrifice. It's serving your country. If you do 2004 and 2005 overseas, and you see a lot of bad stuff happen as a U.S. Marine, as a combat veteran, losing people that were close to you, and feeling attached to them, and what their stories were going to be when they got home, folks. That takes a lot. That takes a lot out of a man. That takes a lot out of a woman to experience these traumatic type events that do happen in our life. They lead to anxiety. They lead to anger. It leads to depression. It leads to, like Mark said, I'm going out. I'm going to crash my motorcycle into a tree. Guys, he had friends that he knew were going to be okay, but they weren't, because so many veterans are afraid to talk about the wounds of war, and they're afraid to talk about mental health and the stigma that is attached to it. They are afraid of what it may do to their jobs. They're afraid that they may look down upon themselves and perhaps feel like they're less of a man than what they really should be. It's a massive hit to one's pride. Now, I just want to thank you for making yourself vulnerable, and we have a lot of talking points to get to now, because this is the life value that you can add to so many folks out there. There are so many people that are going to look at you now and say, man, Marc Vital, I can relate to that guy. I can relate to everything about that guy. And again, let's go back to you coming home from serving overseas. When did you When did you realize that you were like, man, I think I got post-traumatic stress? And did you go to the VA for help? Were you on, any prescriptions, or did you just mask all your pain with alcohol?
So it was actually really shortly after I got home because I was having so much issues just being out in public. I'm like, trying to figure out what it was. I absolutely masked it with alcohol. That was my go-to. Then I talked to my platoon sergeant. I'm like, hey man, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm having all these issues. There is some counseling things. I'm gonna go do this group session. So I actually started while I was in. I'm like, what's going on? What is my problem? Why am I like this? I've never had a problem out in town. I've never had a problem being around people. It is what it is. But now it's like I can't even go out in town without flipping out. I'm like, I can't handle it. So I would say within the first 2 months, because like I'd broken down. Okay, so after we demoed from Iraq, we sat in Kuwait for 2 weeks to decompress. There's like, here's 2 weeks, just hang out. You don't have to do anything, just relax. Okay. I was losing it there, thinking about my buddies that aren't coming home now. And that was when I started realizing, okay, something seems a little off. Then I get home, then all this other stuff happens, and I'm like, all right, something's really fucked up. I had worked with my corpsman. I'm like, bro, can you just give me something to make this shit go away? There were times we'd laugh and joke about it, but showing up to PT at like 06:30, still drunk from the night before, that kind of became the normal. It was just, it is what it is. You understand? I mean,
you get with that devil doc, and you're like, give me an IV and tap my arm at 3 a.m. so I can get up at 6 and I can go do the daily 7 and your 7-mile boots and utes motivational run, right?
Yep. So it was right off the bat. And then like before I got out, people were telling me, hey, start a VA claim. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So I go talk to a civilian therapist in California. And he's like, tell me what's going on. So I explained everything. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck this is, but this is what's going on. He's like, well, I don't think you have PTSD. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck what you think. I mean, you know how it goes. And it's like, that was my idea. That's my exposure to it. That's what that's what a doctor told me, a civilian doctor. I'm like, all right, well, he knows more than me. So I guess it's not that. Yeah, was he wrong? So it really it's been snowballing since. And so I've been out for 16 years, home for 17. I've gone through every kind of counselor, therapist, you name it, I've tried it. There's been very, very few things that have helped me. One was going to the vet center. I found one of the counselors was an Army vet, and something about him, me and him just clicked. So going through and having him as my counselor, that's where I made huge strides. I started really getting better. And that was, right about the time I got that second DUI. It was right before I got it. And then I was trying to go back to find him afterwards, but he had since moved on. And actually in the past month and a half, 2 months, I started equine therapy, and I found that to be the absolute most helpful. So it started, like, I noticed it when I got home. Absolutely. Like, I didn't know what the hell was going on. Couldn't be in public. And it slowly progressed and got worse, but I just drink to cover it up or take 13 different pills a day. I mean, the VA's like, oh, here's a pill. Here's a pill. This didn't work. Here, let's add this on top to it. And then that creates a ton of other problems. At one point, I was taking 5 different medications, but it was 13 pills a day just to try to function. And that's,
I can relate.
Get away. You've got to figure out other ways.
People need to understand that the wounds of war will continue on for a lifetime. These post 9/11 veterans, there was over 3,000 that died in the 9/11 attacks, and there's been so many thousands of U.S. military service members that have died in the line of duty, serving overseas. And for the folks that do make it home, for the ones that are lucky enough to make it home, they're still battling this. And the 22 is real. Veteran suicide is at an all-time high. It's an epidemic in our country. And from the latest news reports I've been seeing, is 22 may even be a low estimate that has been provided by the VA. I'm hearing numbers of 40 a day now. And that is an alarming trend that we see. And again, it's the sacrifice for a lifetime. I don't care if you serve six days over there and you see something that is traumatic, you're going to live with that for the rest of your life. And folks, I know, look, everybody suffers trauma, but when you come home after serving your country, and this continues on for decades. I mean, look, you got out, you served in 2004 and 2005 overseas. It's 2022, and you're still picking the pieces up from that time that you served over there. And where did you go to? You went to alcohol. Why? The Marine Corps breeds alcoholics. That's just what we do. You were a biker, okay? So you're like, I can't even be a biker anymore, really, and hang out with these guys. I got to cut my ties, because if I don't cut my ties, I'm going to continue to be an alcoholic. So if I still want to ride my bike, I'm going to have to do it alone. Or if I want to find some people that are going to ride with me, I got to find guys who aren't alcoholics, because let's face it, when you go on these poker runs, you go from bar to bar to bar to bar. So in order to change your life, you need to change your lifestyle. And sometimes changing a lifestyle can be really hard on the guy, especially when you have these lifelong relationships that you built with these people that mean the most to you in your life, but they drink. So if you're around them, you're probably going to drink. Like I have always told my kids, you are who you roll with. If you hang out with alcoholics, you're going to be one. If you hang out with successful people, you're going to be one. If you hang out with folks like Marc Vital, who has been picking up the pieces of being wounded in war through the traumatic effects of mental health, he wants to align himself with other veterans, because now he can add some value, some real life meaning to the lives of these veterans by healing them on the waters, on the open waters of sailing. And I want to get to that now. I want to know how you're changing lives with Skeleton Crew Adventures.
So it's easy. The same way I felt, the same reaction I've had, we get from a lot of veterans. Well, first of all, they have the same, stereotypical thoughts. They're like, yeah, I'm not a sailor. I don't want to go on a sailboat. That sounds kind of stupid. But when you get them out on the water, now, you're working together, working lines, moving sails, you're sailing. And if you get going and you get it healed over, it's the slowest adrenaline rush you ever get. So from that aspect, now, since your prefrontal cortex and your hippocampus in your brain, there's actual physical changes in the brain from PTSD and combat and all that stuff. So this will help take all the bad memories associated with adrenaline, and now you're replacing them with good memories associating with adrenaline. So instead of the adrenaline rush, oh shit, where's the threat? Who are we going for? It's, oh dude, this was awesome. This one time we were sailing. We've had some people, they're like, holy shit, dude, how can I help more? That was amazing. And they'll go through and they'll explain the exact same thing that I said. I'm like, holy shit, dude, that's what I said. That's why I'm here. That's why I feel it's important to tell my story. Once you get them out on the water, and one, you're around all vets. So you get all vets on a boat in Galveston Bay, in the Gulf of Mexico, when we do our offshore trips, whatever, they're comfortable. Things will come out. They are more apt to talk about stuff. We had some guys come down, and they were some of the most phenomenal people you'll ever meet in your life. And the things they do for veterans is unworldly. Like, these guys are amazing. One guy got so relaxed and so happy, he was actually starting to talk about his past. And I was talking to the head guy of the group that came down, and he's like, he has never, ever shared that much. And I don't think I've ever seen him that happy or smile that much. So that's just another reaffirmation that I know I'm in the right spot, and I know it's working, because I can see the veterans, they get happy. They're like, wow, this is phenomenal. It's hard to describe unless you have actually done it, but just you get a calmness. You're back with everybody. You're building a veteran network. Now you got a bigger support network. You have an activity you're doing to help regrow the hippocampus, prefrontal cortex lobe of your brain. So it's many things. So not only do they have all this stuff that they just got to let go of on the boat, whether it's something from the past, something they're dealing with now, it takes them and it gives you that day, takes you away from the world, away from the stress, gives you a breath, and you're like, all right, bet, I've got this.
Mm-hmm.
And then now they're talking with other people and they're like, dude, I'm dealing with the same shit. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, you're not alone. They get on there and you're working as a team, you're sailing, you're going through that adrenaline therapy, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
You're building new relationships. You guys are all like-minded individuals. And look, they're just unpacking baggage that they have held onto for such a long period of time. Now, this is a great time to be a veteran in our country. It's probably the best time in our nation's history to be a veteran, because there are so many people out there that literally live a life of selfless service. There are so many 501c3s out there that want to help veterans and first responders. The majority of these programs to give back to the ones that have served our great nation, to keep our Liberty Bell here at home ringing. And there are so many opportunities out there for so many veterans. I mean, whether it's faith-based, whether it's adrenaline therapy. I mean, look at you, sailing. I mean, the folks go on rucks, camping, shooting. They drive race cars, whatever it is. Like, there is something for everybody, literally something for everybody. And the veterans, all they need to do is reach out. But how do they reach out? Well, if you want to go sailing, you just go to skeletoncrewadventures.org and you can start right there if you're in the in the Texas area. But like I said, being a veteran now in 2022, there is no reason why we need to be having all these veterans commit suicide, because there are so many programs out there that are designed to help. It's just reaching those veterans and having folks like you get on and say, I was a raging alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if I was even going to make it through the day. But you turned your life around because you hit rock bottom. And once you hit rock bottom, you said, I need to reinvent myself. I need to recreate myself. I need to be the man I know I can be. And we're all called to serve. And I say this all the time. You were literally called that day from your friend. And he put something on you, and God put something on your heart, and you didn't need to take that call. You could have just lived your life in Washington, continued to drink and all that stuff. But you know what I think happened is that God knew what you were going through. He knew the pain that you were in. He knew the struggles that you were having in life. He knew all the obstacles. And how were you healing yourself? You weren't. You were drinking. You were drinking it to death. So when you answered your call to service on that spontaneous moment, and you decided to pack up everything you had, sell it, and get out, that is when you cut those ties. And that is when you began to get 1% better. And that is when you began to redefine who you are through your actions to help others, because not only are you helping others, you're helping yourself on that sailboat, because you too are still going through therapy. You'll never be fully healed. None of us will. It's how we manage it. There's healthy ways of managing it, and there's unhealthy ways of managing it. And folks, sailing and doing all these events and coordinating with other veterans and like-minded people, folks, is the first step. Is the first step in healing and getting your life back together. I mean, I can testify to that. I hit rock bottom too. And one day I said, this ain't me. I spent years in a chair. I wasted 4 years of my life because I was this victim living in a world of darkness. And I'm like, I've got to stand up and I have got to become the man I once was. Well, that guy died. Okay, cool. I'll reinvent myself. And that's exactly what I've done. That's exactly what you have done. And folks, and that's exactly what you can do. But it starts with you. Only you can save you. Now, I want to know what it's like to get on a sailboat with you in Galveston or the Gulf of Mexico. I show up, I meet Marc Vital. Walk me through it.
All right. So we'll meet up at, whatever time it is on a Saturday, Sunday, depending on what we're doing. If it's a day sail, usually 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. We meet up, we'll get on the boat. We go through, first you got to go through the little orientation, if you will, all the safety stuff, where all your safety equipment is, the basics of sailing. This is what we're going to do. We're just going to go out here, do this. We're going to make sure everybody's comfortable with the boat. You know where the radio's at. You know what to do if Taylor, myself, or whatever captain's on there falls overboard. Now it's just y'all. So we're going to teach you that. And then once we get out there, we're going to go over points of sail. The wind's coming from this direction. You want to move the sail just like this, right? You're going to look at the telltales on the sail itself. Then you can see how the wind's flowing over the sail, and how to adjust it. Then basically you set it, you go on a point of sail, and then you just kick back. And you're like, wow, enjoy it. You get to see some dolphins, jellyfish, all sorts of random stuff. And then when it's time to turn, whether it's tacking or jibing, it's putting the nose of the boat through the wind or putting the stern of the boat through the wind. Then we'll show you how to do that. And then we'll go sail for another 15, 20 minutes, depending on how long, how much room we have to sail. So basically, it's going to be, you get your orientation, you learn about the safety stuff, you know what's expected, what to do, what not to do. While we're sailing, we'll teach you. And we do that for a couple hours, come back in, and usually we grab lunch or something afterwards and just hang out and relax. That also, on the time on the water, gives you time to meet other veterans, to network. Now you're growing your support system. Now you can fully be like, you know what, this is what I'm dealing with. We've gone through the peer-to-peer support training. So like, we're not counselors by any means, but we all have our stories, and we absolutely will listen. We'll help you. Maybe we've met somebody and it's like, hey, you need to talk to this person. That's actually a huge strength I've found in myself lately. Someone's going through something and I'm like, wow, I just met this guy who runs a nonprofit that takes care of this.
Exactly.
Get a call. So that was also another idea that I want to start a podcast to show what nonprofits are out there for veterans, to get veterans connected with other nonprofits and be like, you guys need to get out. A lot of people just don't know how to get started. That's the biggest thing. Got to get off your ass and go do something.
Because there are so many. And who suffers from anxiety and all that shit? Well, fucking veterans do.
Yep.
Right? So at the end of the day, it's like, where do I start? I Google veteran stuff and there's a billion things. Like, there needs to be a directory. Now, I'm sure there is a directory out there, but I mean, literally, I know guys that do fishing trips in Alaska. I know people that build guitar therapy. I mean, literally music. There's everything out there, like cooking. I mean, the veteran, this is the best time in our nation's history to be a veteran, because there are so many programs, there are so many good-hearted people out there that want to help, but you need to be willing to help yourself, folks. And I hope this podcast will reach your heart and your mind today. You can get out of that chair. You can escape the hell that you're living in right now in your mind and your dark place, and begin to save yourself. Because once you do, you will have this overwhelming gratitude in your life to where you're going to start to live life through a different set of lenses that you never knew existed. And once you know, you know. And I'm getting goosebumps right now because I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And when you live a life like that you were intended to live, it makes getting up every morning like, I can't wait. I can't wait. Sometimes when I go to bed, I'm like, I can't sleep because I can't wait to do my podcast in the morning with Marc Vital. I cannot wait. And this is what is called purpose and passion. You need that, folks. You need that to grow. You need that to evolve. Now, look, I want to know, because we're running short on time here, but I want folks to hear a little bit more from Marc. What has been the biggest accomplishment in your life?
I just went over this. Like, I just attended a 3-day life coaching seminar over the weekend, and they asked the exact same question. And the biggest accomplishment is that I'm still alive. I have gone through all this crazy stuff. I've tried to do stupid stuff, whether it was 190 miles an hour on a motorcycle on the highway, 150 through town, drinking too much, getting so drunk I can barely stand up, and getting on the bike to ride. I should be dead many times. There's a reason I'm here. Now that reason is clear. Like you just said, I wake up in the morning and I'm happy finally. I'm excited. Yeah. I get to help my brothers and sisters. I get to help stop this veteran suicide. It's right? That's my why. Who can I help? How many ways can I help? I mean, it's snowball. You get help. And like you said, nobody can help you unless you help yourself. And that's the biggest thing. I never wanted to help myself. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, fuck this. Y'all are crazy. I'm going to go. I'm fine. I'm fine. You guys, I have there's something wrong with you. Ain't nothing wrong with me. Quite the opposite. I handle my stuff. No, you don't. No, you really don't. And it's just knowing that I get to make a difference in veteran lives. That is my purpose. A veteran without a purpose is a veteran at risk. Absolutely, hands down.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm going to go get drunk. Okay, you'll be dead in a year or two, probably. You might do something, pull out of it, you might not. And that's just the biggest thing is I'm alive. That's my biggest accomplishment. And I've finally gotten myself to a place to where, yes, I still have a ton of issues to deal with, but that's okay. It's flashbacks, it's nightmares, or other things that pop up. It's like, all right, I know that I've got people I can count on, or that I can go to, like, yo, I need some help. Shit's wrong today. Or I can sit there and I can do self-talk and like, wait, look around and do all these other techniques and all this other stuff I've been taught and learned. But that willingness to change, it'd have been all for nothing. So I'm just happy I'm still alive. That's what makes me excited about every day now, that I've overcome everything. I'm finally at a point where I feel I can share my story without coming across like I'm bragging or, hey, look at me, I'm so great. Because it's quite the opposite. I'm like, dude, I've had a fucked up life. I've done a lot of dumb shit. And I've any way and every way possible. It is what it is. But I'm here now. So I'm okay with people seeing me at my worst. Like I said, Nick Rum, I love that dude. His podcast, he's like, you're damn right I'm crying. He's an MMA fighter. He's like, what are you going to do? Fight me? Fuck it. I'm like, same way. I don't care what people think anymore. The attitude I hope people can take away. One, they can do it. If you need to, call me, DM me, send me a message, bro. I got your back. I don't care. I will do something to help. I will try whatever I can. And it's like, as long as people can get that in an understanding, then I'm happy. And maybe spark some change.
I got to tell you, I'm going to connect you personally with Nick today. Nick is a great friend of mine. For real, when you say that you have a lot, you guys have very similar stories. You guys have both been through severe trauma. You guys are both combat veterans. And Nick is the founder of Warriors Next Adventure. And this guy's going to be sailing across the Atlantic Ocean in December. And what do you do? Well, you're a freaking sailor. Right? I mean, like, totally, you guys are cut from the same mold. And you guys can iron sharpens iron. And you guys got that commonality there. And you guys are going to get along great. And I am going to make that personal connection between you guys. And I will introduce you. Awesome. And I'm telling you, you are going to have another brother in your fight. Another corner man, if you will. And, that is how the veteran community takes care of its own. It's just like this. And again, your biggest accomplishment in your life is staying alive and making yourself vulnerable. because a lot of people, let's face it, I can't talk about man, no way. I can't talk about that. That's a hit to my pride. So I'm going to stay isolated in my room, and I'm going to continue to live a life of living hell as you continue to spiral out of control and fall down to the gates of hell. When you're doing everything you can, again, to just stay alive, and you're fighting yourself. Get up, get 1% better. Only you can save you, folks. I'm telling you, once you do it and you take that first step, I'm telling you, the gratitude is overwhelming. It's unlike any drug. It's unlike any alcohol. It is unlike anything that you could ever experience. And once you know, because it'll give you goosebumps. And that Holy Spirit will just flow through you, and you will begin to live the life that God has intended for you to live. And I am not a big, huge, Bible thumper or anything like that. I do believe in God. I pray every day. I read my Bible. But guys, I'm not like a pastor here preaching to you. I'm just saying God is real. And if you open your heart and your mind to that, and you begin to see and feel what has been put in your life, there's signs everywhere. Open your eyes and you'll see them, and you will see what that plan is for you, because we all have a plan. Our stories have already been written, but it's how you take that plan and put it into motion, guys. Hey, forward is a motion. That's all you need to do. Keep moving forward. Look, man, I respect the hell out of you. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I have one big thing I've been dying to finally announce. It's like you were talking about the Ocean Globe race we're doing. That is a 27,000 nautical mile race around the world. Like, we are going completely around the globe, right?
Yeah.
Crew is all veterans.
You're Nick. You're totally Nick.
Right? It's the only American flag, the only American team. And we're doing a documentary to lobby change to help implement adventure therapy. We just had a Zoom meeting Wednesday, so I can finally announce this. Our biggest sponsor is Sig Sauer. So, yeah, right? That's what I said. I was like, hey.
Wow. So are you guys going to be armed too?
I don't know.
Put some cannons on that sailboat.
Right? So they actually want us to go up to New Hampshire and film with them. So they're going to get the city involved. Like, they're going to make this huge production out of it. And they have like 1.6 million followers on all their social media platforms. They're like, we love what you guys are doing so much. Not only are we donating monetarily, but we're going to help this. And now we're going to film and push it out to every little channel aspect we have. So you're going to have the full marketing power of Sig Sauer behind Skeleton Crew for the Ocean Globe race. So that's like one thing I've been like jumping out of my freaking seat. Like,
that is amazing.
Like, mind blown.
Folks, you heard it here first. Sig Sauer is on board as a sponsor of the Skeleton Crew Adventures, and them selling literally across the globe. And again, man, you're an amazing man. You have done amazing things, and you will continue to do amazing things. Now, I got to get down there to Kima. I got to go sail with it here someday, man. I'd love to.
You absolutely do.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Mark. We sincerely appreciate everything you have done and continue to do for our great nation, as well as in the military and veteran community. Your service, sacrifice, and dedication is a true testament to your character. Your selfless work has not gone unnoticed.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
Until next time, for Tuesdays with Tally, this is Brian Tally. Good night, Semper Fi, and God